Welcome and study with Tanzania Institute of Education.
Hello student, my name is Marcus Kipangure and I'll be with you in this session, and our subject today is biology under the topic known as nutrition, under the subtopic which is called food substance. This topic is the continuation of the last session. Now today we are going to discuss about food substance, but in the last session we started discussing about this food substance. We saw the introduction of food substance, we saw the types of food substance, and we said that we have got 6 types of food substance or groups of food substance. 1 was carbohydrate, 2 was lipid, 3 was protein, 4 was vitamin, and the 5th was mineral salt, and the last one was water. In the last session again, we discussed about the carbohydrate. We saw the definition of carbohydrate. We saw the property of carbohydrate. We saw the function of carbohydrate. Now today, my dear student, we are going to proceed with the second group of food substance, that is lipid. That is lipids. Now student, before we proceed, let us know what does it mean by the term lipids. What are the lipids? Are the food substances of which kind? By definition, lipids, these are the food substances that are made up with carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Are the food substances that are made up with carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. But the amount of oxygen that are present in lipid is much smaller as compared to the amount of oxygen that are present in what? In carbohydrate. We say that, first of all, they are made up with carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The same as the component, or the same as the element that makes what? Carbohydrate. But the only difference is that the amount of this oxygen, is smaller as compared to the amount of oxygen that is present in what? In carbohydrate. But the elements that makes them are the same. Are we together, my student? Yeah. So that is, but after that, let us see the forms. We say that lipids exist in 2 forms. Lipids exist in 2 forms. The first form, lipids, exist into 2 forms. The first form is called fats. The second form is called oils. So lipid exists into 2 forms. The first form is fat. The second form is oil. What is fat? Fat are the lipids that are obtained from animals. So they are obtained from what? They are obtained from animals. So those lipids that are coming from animals, they are known as what? Fat. And these fats, they are solid. They are solid at room temperature. At our normal temperature, at our daily temperature, these fats, they are said to be what? Solid. They are said to be solid. And they are obtained from what? From animals. But coming to this oil, they are obtained from what? From plants. They are obtained from plants. And they are said to be liquid. They are liquid at room temperature. So these are the 2 forms. That is fat and oils. Fat comes from animals, while oil comes from what? Plant. And these, they are solid at room temperature, and these, they are liquid at room what? Temperature. That is in our normal temperature. Now, after knowing the definition of lipid and the forms of lipid, let us see what are the food substances, foods that act as source of lipids. If you want to get lipids, what foods you are supposed to eat? What food you are supposed to eat? There are so many. One example of the food that can provide us with lipid is groundnut. Now, when you're talking about the groundnut, these are our lovely groundnut. So when you eat groundnut, you're going to get what? Lipids. Again, we have got avocado fruit. When you're talking about avocado, my dear friend, this is avocado. So when you eat it, you're going to get what? Lipids. Again, we have got cashews. When you're talking about cashew nut, my student, these are the cashew nuts. When you eat cashew nut, you're going to get what? Lipids. Again, from this one, if you sunflowers also provide us with what? Lipids. So these are the foods that can give us lipids in our body. After knowing the definition, after knowing the forms, now let us go direct to the properties of lipids. What are the properties of lipids? Properties of lipids. What are the properties of lipid? The first property or the first feature of lipid is that they are lighter than water. They are lighter than water. What does it mean? It means that if you take water and you take lipid, you mix it together in the same container, lipid is going to appear at the top, while the water will appear at the bottom, meaning that they are lighter than what? Than water. The second property is that they are insoluble in water, but soluble in organic solvent like benzene. They are insoluble in water, but soluble in organic solvent like what? Benzene. This means that if you take lipid and you put it into water, they cannot dissolve to form a uniform what? Solution. But if you take it and put it into a solvent like benzene, they are going to dissolve and make a uniform what? Solution. The last property is that some lipids are solid at room temperature, while others are liquid. As we saw before that, we have got fats and oil. Fats coming from animals, they are solid at room temperature. In our daily temperature, they are said to be what? Solid. Also, we have got oil from plant. They are liquid at what? At room temperature. So this is one of the character or property of lipid. So we've got three properties. One, they are lighter than water. Second, they are soluble in organic solvent, but insoluble in what? In water. They cannot dissolve in what? In water. And the last one, some are solid and others are liquid in our daily what? Temperature, under room temperature. Okay, after having the property, now let us discuss the functions of lipids. Why do we need lipids in our body? Why are we eating the food that contains lipids? That is the function of what? Lipids. Functions of lipids. The first function of lipid is that they are source of energy. The first function is that they act as a source of energy. They provide the living things or living organisms with energy that perform different functions. For instance, the body or the living organism requires energy for respiration, requires energy for movement, requires energy for reproduction. All these energy that perform those functions are coming from what? From lipid. And the only difference with carbohydrate also provide what? Energy. But the amount that is given by carbohydrate is much smaller as compared to the amount that is given by what? By lipid. That is another difference between carbohydrate and what? Lipid. Lipid provide energy which is higher in amount as compared with what? With carbohydrate. That is one. The second function is that it protects delicate organs. Yeah, it is true that another function of lipid, it is used to protect delicate organs such as heart, kidney, and others. Why? Due to the fact that these lipids have got a tendency of surrounding these organs. By surrounding these organs, they protect them from a physical shock or from external what? Disturbance. That is the second what? Function. The third function is that lipids are major components of cell membrane. Also, lipids, they are used as the building block of the cell membrane. For instance, we have got lipids known as glycolipids. This glycolipid is the lipid that are used in what? Are used in making what is so-called cell membrane. The third function is that act as insulator. They act as insulator. Why? Lipid act as an insulator because lipid has got a tendency of conducting heat slowly. It's got a tendency of conducting heat what? Slowly. By doing so, it means that it acts as a what? An insulator. Also, the fifth one, prevent. It prevents excessive loss or gain of water. And a good example of this is the presence of wax. The presence of wax in plants and arthropods. So these are the 5 functions of what? Of lipid. I said source of energy, protect delicate organ, used as a major component of cell membrane. Since we have got glycolipids, which is the lipid, is used to make what? Cell membrane. Also act as an insulator since it conducts heat slowly. And also prevent excessive loss loss or gain of what? Of water. Example, what? Wax. So these are the functions. So when you are studying, when you will be revising lipids, you are supposed to remember the meaning of lipid, examples of lipid, properties of lipid, functions of what? Of lipid. This is the second group of the food substance that a human being, or a living organism, is supposed to do what? To eat. From there now, let us go to the third group. Which is what? Which is protein. Proteins. Now, what are proteins? Proteins are the food substances. That are made up with carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and what? Nitrogen. So these proteins, they are made up with carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. But sometimes phosphorus and sulfur may be present. Do you see the difference? In case of lipid and carbohydrate, they are made up with what? With carbon, hydrogen, and what? And oxygen. But in case of this one, they are made up with carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and what? Nitrogen. But sometimes phosphorus and sulfur may be what? May be present. That is protein. Now from there, let us see what is the essence of of being there. Why nitrogen is there? Sometimes proteins are referred to as nitrogenous compound. Sometimes these proteins, they are called nitrogenous compound. Why? They are called nitrogenous compound because of the presence of that nitrogen in the what? In the food substance. So that's why they are known as what? Nitrogenous compound. These proteins are made up with small unit known as what? Amino acid. Protein, they are made up with small units which are called what? Amino acid. These amino acid, they are joined together by the use of bond known as peptide bond. They are joined together by the use of bond known as peptide what? Bond. So it is peptide bond that enables these amino acid to unite together, to bond together, so they can form what? Protein. So peptide bond is the bond that unites amino acid to form what? Protein. Now, due to the presence of this amino acid, we have got two types of amino acid. The first one is known as essential amino acid, and the second one is known as non-essential amino acid. Due to the presence of this amino acid, which is the building block of protein, are divided into two. We've got essential amino acid and non-essential amino acid. What is essential amino acid? These are those amino acids that are supplied by the food we are eating, that diet. So this comes from food we are eating. They come from food there we are eating. While this one, they are manufactured by the body. So we've got two types, this essential amino acid and non-essential. Essential amino acid, they are supplied by the food that you are eating. For instance, one of the food can be what? One of the food can be what? Beans. These are the beans. One example of the food that can provide us with what? With protein. So those amino acids that are coming from beans, that is the food, they are known as essential amino acid. While those that are coming from the body itself, they are known as non-essential amino acid. Now, my dear student, when these essential amino acids join together by the bond known as peptide bond, is where now we are going to get a type of protein known as first class protein. So when these essential amino acids unite together, combine together by the bond known as peptide bond, you're going to get first class protein. But when non-essential amino acids unite together, combines together to form a protein, you're going to get a protein known as second class protein. This results in the formation of second class protein. So we've got two types of protein, first class protein and second class what? Protein. The first class protein results from joining of essential amino acid, while the second class results from joining of non-essential amino acid. Okay, those are the two types of protein, that is first class protein and second class protein. Now, from there, what are the food substances or foods that can provide the earth with protein? Examples of foods. Protein can be obtained from meat, from peas, from beans, as we saw here, from beans, from insects, fish, and so forth. So these are examples of food that can provide us with what? With proteins. Now from there, let us see the properties of proteins. What are the properties of protein? The first property is that proteins, they are amphoteric. What does it mean by the term amphoteric? This means that protein has got both properties, have got acidic property as well as got basic property. That's why they are known as what? Amphoteric substance or amphoteric food substance. The second property is that protein, they undergo denaturation. What does it mean? This means that protein can be damaged under high temperature. Protein can be damaged, can be destroyed when you supply with what? High temperature. That's why we say they can undergo what? Denaturation. And that process of being denatured, being destroyed, is known as what? Denaturation. The third property of protein, they are soluble in water, but insoluble in organic solvent. When you take protein and put it into water, they are going to do what? To dissolve. That is, they are soluble. But if you take it and put into organic solvent, they cannot what? Dissolve. That's why we say they are soluble in water, but insoluble in what? Organic solvent. They are colorless crystalline. Protein has got no color. They are colorless crystalline. You cannot say protein is blue in color. You cannot say protein is white in color. It is colorless. And lastly, they are neutral to aqueous solution. They are neutral to aqueous what? Solution. So these are the 5 properties of protein. First, they are amphoteric. Second, they are soluble in water, but not in organic solvent. The third one, they undergo what? denaturation. They are destroyed under high temperature. The first one, they are colorless crystalline. They've got no color. And the fifth one, they are neutral to aqueous solution. So these are the properties. Whenever you ask, mention 2 properties, you select from among. Mention 1, 3, you select from among. So these are the properties. Now from there, why do we need protein in living organisms? Why do we need protein in our body? What is the significance? What is the importance of having protein in your body? That is functions. Functions of protein. What are the functions of protein in your body? What are the functions? The first function, protein are used in growth and repair. Why? Why do we say protein are used in growth and repair? Protein provide the living organism with new cells. And these new cells that are provided with protein, they are used in formation of tissues and organs. And apart from that, they are used in replacing of the dead or old cells. That's why they are used in what? Growth and what? And repair. The second one, used as source of energy. Again, the same as lipid and carbohydrate. Also, protein, they are used as a source of energy. But in which time? Protein act as a source of energy when carbohydrate and lipid supply energy in sufficient amount, in a little amount, or when the energy that is supplied by carbohydrate and lipid is finished, is when now protein supplies what? Energy. So act as a source of what? Of energy. Apart from that, energy is used, protein is used in protection of our body. Energy is used, protein is used in protection of what? Of our body. How? Due to the fact that protein provide our body with antigens. And these antigens provide our body with immunity. And these immunity that are being provided by antigen, which has been provided by protein, fight against disease-causing agents, which are microorganisms, which cause what? Diseases. In such a way, it means it used in the protection of what? Of our body. Apart from that, protein is used in different metabolic what? Activities. For instance, we have got enzymes. Enzymes are used in catalyzing different processes in our body. For instance, respiration, digestion, and so forth. So these enzymes are proteins. Again, we've got hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a protein. Hemoglobin is a protein used in transportation of oxygen in invertebrate. The oxygen that is transporting from one place to another in our body is facilitated due to the presence of what? Hemoglobin, which is what? Is a protein. Also, protein used in movement. A good example of protein that facilitates movement is called what? Myosin. Myosin is a protein. Myosin is a protein which used in movement. So in such a way that protein facilitates what? Movement. So these are some functions of protein. These are some functions of protein that force us to eat what? Protein. Are we together, my dear student? Yeah. So for today, let us end here. Today, we have discussed about lipids. We saw the meaning of lipid, that is first. Properties of lipids. and the function of lipid with the examples of what? Food that can provide us with what? Lipid. Also, we saw the meaning of protein, the properties of protein, the function or importance of protein, together with the examples of food that can provide us with what? Protein. So, before closing the period, or before closing the lesson, let us have a question. Let us have a question, or let me provide you with a question that you are going to perform it individually at your own. When you will be eating dinner, then after finishing eating dinner, you sit on the table and answer this question. The question is as follows. What are the difference between carbohydrate and protein? We've already discussed about protein and carbohydrate. Now, in this question, what are the difference between protein and carbohydrate? Thank you for listening. My name is Marcus Kipangole. Thank you.